Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Your Popcorn podcast. I'm your host, Holly Holiday, and I have a guest with me today to go over Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Tristan, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
What up, everybody? My name is Tristan. I am the martial arts film freak across social media, the martial arts film freak on YouTube and TikTok. I talk kung fu and martial arts cinema from across the world.
Make sure you check out his podcast. I was on it a couple weeks ago, and we deep dived 2 different movies. So make sure you guys go and listen to that once you're done this, or pause this and then come back.
Go
Tristan,
watch her be absolutely miserable.
I wasn't miserable. I don't think I came off as miserable.
No,
Maybe
you did
I
not come
did.
off miserable now.
Can you tell everybody about your sort of background and what got you into movies?
Yes, so, I just grew up in that perfect household of we're watching a lot of movies all the time, and it wasn't just martial arts kung fu stuff, I was watching dumb comedies like Wayne's World and Ace Ventura and Austin Powers, but, then also, what sort of stemmed the love of martial arts cinema was just, I was subliminally surrounded by a lot of it. It was, we had like Rush Hour on VHS. I'm watching like Power Rangers every day. We're playing like fighting games, and just like a lot of things just sort of molded in my brain to be like, you like this now. And I do.
Was there one
Wars, big Star Wars nerd.
Are you? Yeah,
Oh,
me
big
too.
Star Wars nerd.
I've got the rebel sign on my neck. Is there any movie in particular that kind of like really solidified? You're like, oh no, like I like this, like martial arts films. Like this is my thing.
I don't know if there's like the one that solidified it. I think when you're a kung fu fan, you have different movies that mark certain periods in your fandom of the genre. But like growing up, of course, and you start in America, you start on like Jackie Chan's American stuff, so Rush Hour and Shanghai Nights and Shanghai Noon and all that. But then like one day you discover Hong Kong movies. And then one day you discover movies from all these different parts of the world. So like, as a kid, it was just something simple like Rush Hour. We had like, Jet Li, we had The One like on DVD. And then one day, I don't know, my brother, I think, comes home with, I want to say it would have been both Ong Bak and maybe the first Drunken Master, which I would have seen Drunken Master 2, which is the better movie in my opinion. That played on TV all the time. So that's like, wow. But then my brother comes home with the first Drunken Master. I think he even came home with Ip Man, and he came home with Ong Bak, so a Thai film. Tony Jaa's Ong Bak, brilliant film, one of the most important martial arts films of the century. So it's just sort of these eventual steps of like, oh, I like this. What else is out there? Oh, wow, that's great. What else is out there? Oh, wow, that's great. So you occasionally come across something new when you're younger that's like you're discovering more of this wider world, and it's all great.
Yeah, your gateway drug to movies.
Exactly.
What makes a movie good? Like, what makes a movie good to you? This is for me, like, and it's something since your podcast I've realized. I'm like, oh, I need to like learn how to watch these movies in a way that like I feel like people think that they don't like musicals until they learn how to watch a musical, and then you're like, okay, I like this. I just have to like, the choreography piece or whatever you have to get through. What makes a movie specifically good to you in this sort of genre? What stands out from the good from the bad for you?
Authenticity, which I think can really just kind of be said for any art form, music, writing, movies. Authenticity is the way to go. And authenticity is weirdly can weird to say it can almost come from an almost inauthentic place sometimes. And with that, I think of some American martial arts films, and I'll give you an example. But the reason we love, like, for people coming up on Bruce Lee movies is like, who was more authentic than Bruce Lee? Like, especially when when you get into like Way of the Dragon, where he's directing himself and he starts introducing his philosophy in Enter the Dragon and that sort of thing. The authenticity of movement. I don't want to see a superstar actor be a movie star and be the dashing good looks with the comic timing, but then as soon as a fight scene starts, now all I see is the back of his head because that's a stunt double. I want to see the authenticity. I want to see Jet Li, Tony Jaa, Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins, any of these people, Michelle Yeoh, Cynthia Rothrock. I want to see them on screen. I want to see their acting performance. And then I want to see their face as they put their bodies on the line to do some amazing stunt or some amazing fight scene. It all comes down to that authenticity. Where I sort of reference maybe an authenticity coming from an inauthentic place, not quite an inauthentic place, is maybe something like The Matrix, where even though you have Keanu, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, all those people doing the fight scenes, yes, every now and again they have stunt doubles because you're not going to throw Keanu Reeves into a wall. Yuan Wu-Ping, who was the fight choreographer on the movie we're talking about here today, he put all those actors through 6 months of training. So he went into that movie knowing, like, this needs to be authentic. Yeah. We're not going to be throwing in stunt doubles every single fight scene. I want to put Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne in a fight scene, and it's going to be freaking amazing. So it just comes down to, I want to see the person on screen be their authentic self.
Yeah, I totally feel that way. And I keep comparing this genre to musicals, but I feel like it has a lot more in common with it than I think people think. Like I'm the same way. Like I want to see someone, I would rather have somebody more unknown but is able to do the entire thing and capture it than have like somebody be like dubbed in for their music.
Yeah. And it goes the same way. Like you bring up musicals. The first musical I fell in love with was La La Land. 2016. I was just kind of in the right place in my life for that one. Maybe it was 2017. No, it was 2016. 2017? I don't remember. I heard this great comparison from a guy named Rick Myers, who's this kung fu cinema historian, and he was talking about a movie called Wolf Warrior. It came out in about 2018. It's Scott Adkins and Wu Zhang, these guys who are two of the modern greats of martial arts and kung fu cinema. And in the movie, they fight for like 2 minutes and the movie ends. It's a letdown. You have these two guys who are like the best in the world. They don't do anything. But the way he described it is he referenced old classic musicals. And he said, what makes this movie so upsetting is that this movie has Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. And you put Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire on screen together, and you didn't let them dance. Like, you want to see those people. And they're like, I think there's a few movies, like there's like a Richard Gere movie where he has this big dance number, but then like the movie just kind of zooms in on his feet. And it's like, well, now this scene is not as good because that's anybody's feet. I want to see Richard Gere do that. The dance numbers in La La Land are great. But what makes them so great is you get to see Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling do them. Same thing.
Totally. I totally get it. And now I'll have to put you through the Inside the Actor Studio questionnaire because I make all of my guests do it. I don't know if you were familiar with the show, but I obsessively...
I do remember it back in the day.
I obsessively watched this in high school when I wanted to be an actor. That didn't so much go that way. So now it's kind of just a fun thing I do with everybody. So this is the questionnaire started by Bernard Pivot and then is done by James Lipton on the show. So Tristan, what's your favorite word?
It's a weird one. Defenestration.
I don't even know what that means.
It is the act of throwing someone out a window.
Oh, okay. I feel like that's
learned it from a movie. So I learned it from a movie, and of course, I'm sure the root is not exactly French, but like the most famous, I feel like it might be French because think of like the French revolutions where they would just storm the castles and the Capitol buildings and just throw people through windows because they're like, you're not treating us right, out the window. It's just I learned that word from a movie, and I was like, that's a fun word, defenestration.
I like it. I'm gonna start trying to use that and stuff. What's your least favorite word?
This one's hard. All I can think of is like no or something like that, but I'm sure there's something worse. I guess just no.
That's mine. My least favorite word is for sure no. What turns you on creatively?
Anything I can get passionate about and anything that I can sort of challenge myself with. Like I'm far more likely to dedicate a lot of time to a video I'm making if I'm like crazy passionate about the topic. It's hard to want to work on something I don't really care about, but then also like the challenge of it is I've got videos of mine that I like. I will go back and watch my own videos. I'm a weirdo like that. I have videos that I like because they were just a really good idea and I was maybe very passionate about it. And then I have videos that I like because I did something in the editing that I was like, oh, that was good. That was tricky. Yeah. And I did it and it was good. And then I have some videos, it comes together and I'm like, that's a really good video. I don't care if it only has 500 views. That was for me.
I understand. I totally get that. I have episodes, I think, on YouTube that have got like 5 views or something, but I'm like, that's my really, really good researched one, though. Like, I like this one. What's your favorite curse word?
It's a combo word, and specifically, it is Woody Harrelson's delivery in the movie Zombieland when he's looking for a Twinkie in Bill Murray's house and they can't find any Twinkies, and Chloe Grace Moretz says, "No Twinkies," and he just yells, "Shit, fuck!" And it's like the disappointment in his voice. Like, yes, he's angry, but he's so disappointed.
I forgot about that. I fucking loved it. I gotta watch that movie again. It's so good. What sound or noise do you love?
Crunching leaves. I like a good crunching leaf. If I go on a walk, I will... And then there's a crunch. I will divert my route and be like, I'm going to go step on that freaking leaf.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Obnoxiously loud engines. Cars, motorcycles, I don't care. Get out of my life.
I feel that. I live in a small redneck town. I feel you.
Not a fan. Like my parents as a kid, we have like Bikers Who Care, which is like a charity organization, and they would do parades. So as a kid, my parents would take me to these Bikers Who Care parades, and it's like just a bunch of motorcycles and Harleys going by. And as a kid, I was like, I don't want to be here at all. I hate this.
Core trauma. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to try directing or acting. I never did a play or nothing like that, but I did acting classes, improv classes, and stage combat classes in college that I really liked. And I thought that I took to improv quite well, but that's really kind of the most I ever did it was that. And with directing, it's more of just, I think I have some ideas that I would love to make that I have zero resources to do so.
That's fair. What profession would you not like to do?
You ever see, there's a Simu Liu movie, I think it also had Woody Harrelson from last year, that as soon as I learned that was a profession, I was like, I don't want to do that at all. It's people who's like, there's like pipes and wires that run at the bottom of the ocean. And there's people who have to go down there and manage those and make sure that they're nice and tidy and all that. No.
No.
Like they put on like a heavy suit that they can breathe in, and like they had to like attach to like by like 5 cables so that they can pull them back up, and they just have to like sink to the bottom of the ocean and manage these wires and cables and pipes and stuff. And no, I don't care how much money you make.
Nightmare fuel. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at pearly gates?
I guess just nice work.
All right.
And I better hear my goddamn dog bark.
Yes, all dogs go to heaven. That's what I was promised in that movie.
My childhood dog from 5 to 21. He was like 16 years old.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better be there. That would be, yeah. Heaven has to be full of dogs. There's no way it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you picked this movie when you and I were discussing about you coming on the show. Can you tell me why you picked this one specifically?
So while we were talking, I had made a list of 3 martial arts movies that I thought you would enjoy. And I said Hero, Zhang Yimou's Hero, Zhang Yimou's House of Flying Daggers, and Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This one because you had said how much you enjoy a good romance, and this movie is a tragic romance. As much as it is a wuxia kung fu film, it is a tragic romance. It is 2 tragic romances, and I thought it would just fit your vibe.
It did. I mean, there's like this film is so much in like the zeitgeist of like being like without having seen it, I had, heard so much about it and seen clips and stuff online and like known what a like historic film this had been because it had like the highest number of Oscar nominations for any foreign language film ever at this point. So and it has Michelle Yeoh. So I was like, I'm gonna like this. But I was just particularly with like the cinematography of the film, like this film is so beautiful. You can mute it and just watch it.
Right.
And be like totally, but like Ang Lee's, everything he does is so beautiful. But I really, really enjoyed this. I have to be honest, a little bit more than the other ones.
Oh, no, I'm sure. Absolutely. This is like I had said in the episode you had done with me, which is I Welcome You to Kung Fu, that I felt bad that one of the movies a movie I had chosen for you was The 7 Grandmasters by Joseph Kuo. And it is wall to wall, fast paced, incredible fight scenes. And if you've never seen a kung fu movie, then you will watch that and be like, that was too much. This movie is like maybe 3 or 4 major fight scenes, but like there's so much plot and character development and story behind all of it that I thought that's really why I was like, this is what she's looking for.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good like if you're out there and you're like me and you're not like, into the genre or know that much about it, it is a lovely first step. It's great. And it's incredibly well acted, obviously masterfully directed. It just like honestly like no notes on the movie. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And you're this kind of universally loved by critics, got like a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Letterboxd has got a 4.1. I gave it a 4.5. Not for anything in particular. I don't know. I go on vibes for between that 4.5 and a 5.
Yeah. Sometimes there's just like a little bit of extra something personally that pushes something over the edge for you.
Yeah, and it's not because of anything wrong with the film. It's like something wrong with me inside. What do you rate this on your?
I mean, I'd probably put it around a 4.5 as well. I think maybe the only thing that maybe drags it a little bit is some of that stuff in the desert towards the middle drags just a little bit. Other than that, no, yeah. Characters, story, again, the fights, again, all the stuff, fight choreography by the legend that is Yuan Wuping. Everyone in this movie is firing on all cylinders. Michelle Yeoh doing a movie in a language she does not speak because she speaks Cantonese and this movie's in Mandarin. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone on this movie is doing absolutely everything they can.
Yeah, it's stunning. I found a quote from my favorite critic is Roger Ebert, and he had a quote in his review that I really liked. He gave this 4 out of 4. He said, "There are those I know who will never go to a martial arts movie, just as some people hate westerns. Jack Warner once told his producers, 'Don't make me any more movies where the people write with feathers.' But like all ambitious movies, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon transcends its origins and becomes one of a kind. It's glorious, unashamed escapism, and surprisingly touching at the same time," which I
Mhm.
liked a lot. It was nominated, like I said, for 10 Oscars, winning 3 for Best Foreign Language Film, Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, and Best Score, which it absolutely deserved. And then it got edged out of a few, but this was just a good year for movies. It lost Best Picture to Gladiator, Best Director, which I think he should have gotten, lost to Steven Soderbergh for Traffic. I think Ang Lee should have won. This was better in terms of
I've never
direction.
seen Traffic, but I will say last month I did watch Gladiator for the first time. Not impressed. Didn't care for
No,
Gladiator. Not a big Gladiator.
no.
Just I was like, yeah, I get it.
It's definitely not my go-to movie. I like it, but
Hmm.
it's one of those ones where I'm like, "I've seen it now." Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to rewatch.
I'm also
I
like,
like
yeah, I'm like, I've seen the show Spartacus.
yeah, yeah, totally. I like Traffic better than I like Gladiator for sure. Best Adapted Screenplay lost to Traffic, editing lost to Traffic. I kind of feel like it's one of those movies you could have given it to either of them. Best Costumes lost to Gladiator, which I don't think it should have. This had better
I
costumes.
guess I gotta watch Traffic.
It's pretty good. I like it. And then yeah, and this made $240 million on a $17 million budget, which is crazy. Like
Yeah,
that
this
is
really blew up, and this really blew up in the West, which is, I guess, not the most common thing for most Hong Kong action films. Granted, this was sort of made to be a bit international. Michelle Yeoh at this time was somewhat of already an international star because she was in, I want to say Tomorrow Never Dies, the Bond movie, and uh, Ang Lee had already made like what 2 or 3 American movies. This was coming off of Brokeback Mountain and probably one other movie I can't think of. And
I think
then what's his?
this is before Brokeback.
Was it before? I thought it was after. Well, it was 2000. That makes sense.
Brokeback's 2004.
That makes sense. Well, something else was before this then.
I'm gonna scroll through his filmography so we can
But then you also have
Sense and
Chow Yun
Sensibility.
Fat. Sense and Sensibility. That's what it is. Chow Yun Fat by this point was also already an American star. He came over in the late 90s. He did like Replacement Killers with Mark Wahlberg and some other movies. So you had 2 people who were already like international actors, and then you had Ang Lee who was already doing movies in the West as well.
Yeah, and I believe when I was researching this down to like the costumes and stuff, they were trying to have it be a little more of a like an international appeal
Mhm.
and appeal to Western audiences. This was also produced, I believe, by 4 different studios in order to try to get as much like international draw.
International, yeah, Sony and probably a few other things.
Yeah, Sony. Well, it was yeah, it's a number of them. Yeah, we got Sony Pictures was one of them. That was the one that I remembered for sure. My favorite thing about this movie is how incredibly well written and badass the female characters are.
Mhm.
I loved it. Like I
Yeah,
just
so
thought it was
like I remember when Wonder Woman came out in like what 2019, it was probably like 2018.
Kalel. No,
So many people online were just like female actions, like we can finally have like a female action star and do all this. I was like, and like people were saying like, well, we already had Ellen Ripley in Alien and Sarah Connor, and I'm like, you guys don't even like, you're missing out on just a whole culture of
yeah,
women in action. Like even as far back as the 60s, the villain of this movie, the character Jade Fox, is played by an actress named Cheng Pei Pei. And in the 60s, she was a huge action star.
hmm
Come Drink With Me and a bunch of other films, like she was a kung fu superstar back in the 60s. And even though going into the 70s, you have like Angela Mao, bringing in Michelle Yeoh, Cynthia Rothrock in the 80s, Moon Lee, Cynthia Khan, Yukari Yoshima. Like there's a long history of women being absolute badass action stars well before a majority of the stuff we get in America.
yeah, absolutely. It was yeah. I'm like I don't know. Wonder Woman is such like a a bad example. She's such a. I hated that. Where I know people really liked it. I'm like, I hate Gal Gadot. She cannot act,
No, she's not
and I
great.
don't think she's doing any of that shit either.
How did you feel about the relationships and the tragic romances of this movie?
I loved it. I love I talked about this last time. I love a secret. I love a secret romance where like two people like have these like feelings that they just like are keeping to themselves, that
Mm-hmm.
like I can't possibly say that to this other person for XYZ. And so I loved I loved that aspect of it. And I just I you gotta just like I love a quiet yearning. And this
Mm-hmm.
film had that, and I loved it. And I also loved the spoilers alert for a movie that came out like 26 years
26
ago.
years ago.
But the end when she just is like throws herself off the edge. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love like it was like this is very gothic romance
Yeah.
at the end. It made me think very much like, have you seen Coppola's Dracula?
Most of it. Yeah, yeah,
At the beginning when Elizabeth is like, well, he's
yeah,
lost
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
battle. I'm gonna drop into the like that exact like it looked. I don't know if it was like a visual reference to it or whatever, but like it looked so much like that where she just like falls off the ledge into the mist.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do love I can't possibly go on.
Yeah. Well, even like I guess the bigger tragedy there would be for Michelle Yeoh, because I guess Zhang Ziyi, Jen, her character Jen, she I guess I mean it's not, it may be rude to say she takes the easy way out, but she racked with all the guilt, does
Mhm.
that at the end. But you have Michelle Yeoh who still just kind of has to push on.
Yeah, it was yeah, I don't know if I describe it as jumping the easy way out, but definitely like not
Yeah, yeah,
having to
yeah. Like
literally
not exactly
jumping
the best
away
way
from
forward.
your feelings.
Yeah, I
But
messed up. I messed up bad. I've ruined a lot of people's lives.
yeah,
Peace. I'm out.
and just and then just having to like sit with all of that. That was like for me like the two I don't know how to but like parallel romance threads throughout it that have like elements of mirroring each other. I thought
Mhm.
was for me the most compelling portion of the film.
Yeah, I mean the movie is full of tragedy because even the villain Jade Fox, like we hear from Chow Yun Fat, which I think his character's name is Lee Mu Bai. All we hear is, "I've been hunting this woman for years because she killed my master." But then when you hear bits of her perspective, it was, your master could use me for sex all he wanted, but as a woman, I'm not allowed to learn the Wudang Kung Fu that you're training up there in the mountains, all because I'm a woman. So you can use me all you want for this, but I'm not allowed to take part in this part of society and advance myself in this way. And so she makes all her decisions there, kills him, and trains Kung Fu. But even then, her tragedy still being that her student in Jen is just so much better than her. And Jen even tells her, like, sucks to suck, you're not very good at this. Like Jen gets so good that like there's one of my favorite parts in this movie, it's early on, is when Jade Fox is fighting everyone in the courtyard, fighting the sort of I guess police hunting her down. And then when Lee Mu Bai shows up, they're fighting, and he is just making her look like a fool. Like she cannot compare to him at all. But then Jen shows up and is kind of holding her own, and you get this really quick moment where Jade Fox looks over and sees Jen holding her own against Lee Mu Bai, and she just kind of has this defeated and angry look on her face, like, why? And
Yeah.
that moment of just like frustration of like, I just got my ass kicked and my student is over here holding her own and it's pissing her off. It's my favorite moment of her just looking over and being like, hold on, what?
I really liked the complexity of the villain because there's like that's saying like there's three sides to the story: yours, mine, and the truth. And
Mm,
I kind of liked in the middle, sort of being able to see where she's coming from because I think it's harder to. I like to not have to like wrestle with that in my head
yeah.
about whether or not someone really is as bad as they're being portrayed um, by the protagonists of the film. You mentioned the choreography for this. Can you chat a little bit about the guy who did it and sort of the brilliance of it? Just because I am not going to be able to do that in a way that's going to make sense to that doesn't have the same level of understanding. Because it is like you're like for me like as a non martial arts
Yeah.
like with no background like it is like it just looks like amazing like almost like dance like it was
Right.
stunning to watch.
So dance is the right word, because what this style of choreography and on-screen action, what it stems from is Peking opera. Peking opera is a hundreds of years old traditional style of theater that would include acrobats. It would include dance. It would include kung fu, acting, singing. It's what Jackie Chan and his whole class of action stars all grew up doing. Even Yuan Wu Ping went to the same school as them, but he was like a couple years before them. Like the reason like that why Jackie Chan movies hold up so well is because, and why he would put himself through everything is because he grew up being trained in Peking opera. Every day you woke up, you sang, you danced, you did acrobatics, you did kung fu, you acted, and if you messed up, if you screwed up, you got beaten. That's just kind of how it was. And so it's the same background that Yuan Wu Ping comes from, and he perfectly took everything he learned growing up with that, and his whole family was they're called the Yun clan. Like every single one of them is a director or choreographer or something. They're all amazing. But he's arguably the best at taking a classic Peking opera style presentation and adapting it to the screen, whether it be the swords, the wire work, the fights. The reason I love hearing people say it's just like a dance. It is. Kung fu cinema, most martial arts cinema, it is a dance. It's choreography. I've always had this idea of like, I wish the Oscars, I'm happy they're adding a stunt category, but I always thought it'd be so fun if they added a choreography category.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't have to be just fight scenes. I want to like do a choreography category and have a musical, a dance number, a fight scene, all sort of competing against each other for best choreography. I think it'd be fun. So that Peking opera sense, the dance, the kung fu, it all blends into one and makes wuxia kung fu cinema. And it's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really incredible to watch, and like I knew it must have been like when you don't have a basis of like what you're looking at and you're able to be like, wow, like this looks kind of like oddly effortless. I'm like that they must be really good at it. If I'm looking at this and going, that looks effortless. Like that was just beautiful.
What's crazy is that the two people here, and Michelle Yeoh had a bit more experience because she came up in the late 80s, but both Michelle Yeoh and Zhang Ziyi, who plays Jen, neither of them are classically trained martial artists. And arguably, you could say Chow Yun-fat isn't either. Michelle Yeoh was a ballet dancer. And she went to school for ballet. She went to school. She's from, I believe, Taiwan, but she went to school in the UK for ballet. Eventually, she gets hurt. She suffered a back injury. She couldn't do it anymore, and she wins Miss Taiwan in like the mid 80s and meets Jackie Chan and all these other guys and is like, I want to do what they do. So she did. She took her dance training and adapted it into on-screen fighting. Zhang Ziyi is the same. Zhang Ziyi is a ballet dancer, and she just adapted all her skills in ballet to on-screen fighting.
Well, I mean, they definitely would have the like core strength necessary
Right.
for all of that, and the ballet's based so much on like control.
Yeah, I mean, there's another thing of like dancers take super well to choreography. Like, it's kind of fun to watch behind the scenes of like the Captain America movies because Chris Evans doesn't do all of the fights, but he does a good amount. And the reason he can sort of hold his own in on-screen fighting is because he's a tap dancer.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty fun.
That totally makes sense. And I should probably read out a little synopsis for anybody that hasn't seen it, because usually we've been kind of jumping all over the place. So this is the Sony Pictures summary. Two master warriors, Chow Yun-fat and Michelle Yeoh, are faced with their greatest challenge when their treasured green destiny sword is stolen. A young aristocrat, Zhang Ziyi, prepares for her marriage, but soon reveals her superior fighting skills and her romantic past. As each of the warriors battles for justice, they soon come face to face with their worst enemy and the inescapable, enduring power of love. And that's sort of a very, very squished plot of the film, just because we've been jumping all over the place on
Yeah.
where everything is. Just so everybody knows, I might move that section into the front.
So I asked you on my show this question, but I thought it'd be fun to ask here these because the fight scenes here are so different. Is there anything within the action here that stands out to you?
I think the thing for me, like I sort of mentioned before, was how much it felt more like dancing to me than a lot of the two other films we watched. Obviously, this is, you know, 60 years after the
Yeah.
Kurosawa film, and then what about almost 30 after the
Yeah, seven Grandmasters
Seven Grandmasters.
was 77. Yeah.
77. So it was so to me it felt so much more like a dance like and more like smooth and beautiful, and where the other ones felt a little more, I think, and again I think that's just kind of where filmmaking is in time at that
Mhm.
point. And then of course Ang Lee, like I don't think there's any Ang Lee film that isn't just like the most stunning piece of artwork you've ever seen in your whole
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, and a fun connection with this and Seven Grandmasters, which we watched for my show, was remember I said Yuan Wu Ping's family is all in the business, the Yuan clan. Yuan Wu Ping, who again the fight choreographer of this movie, his brother was one of the fight choreographers on Seven Grandmasters.
Oh, okay.
So they're all everywhere.
They're all everywhere. I love it. Timing. And like for you, how does this like stand out for in comparison to a lot of the other films in the genre? Like, why do you think this caught the more mainstream audience?
I I don't think this. I think there's a lot of there's a few moments in this that I do think stand out as beyond exceptional. I think when you're someone like me who is deep in this genre, I think this is not going to be anywhere near like your top 10 kung fu movies you've ever seen, and not even just like kung fu, but like wuxia, which this firmly is planted in wuxia. Which wuxia is like the martial world, martial heroes and stuff like that. So like when you see characters flying around and doing all that stuff, like that very much plants a movie in the wuxia subgenre, more bit of a fantasy aspect. I do think there's plenty of movies that stand out for being a little bit more exciting, but in terms of just being a perfectly told epic, I think that this does the job perfectly fine. I think the reason this blew up in the West as much as it did, of course, all the marketing and all the business stuff behind that, who was involved. I think for a kung fu fan, it's not going to be anything new. You're going to have a good time. But for general audiences who aren't, neck deep in kung fu, martial arts, wuxia cinema, it's unique.
Hmm.
It's not something you get a lot. And it was coming over to the West a bit, Yuan Wu Peng again working on The Matrix. But like The Matrix gives you this excuse for these characters being able to do fantastical things because they're in a computer world where anything is possible. The world isn't real.
Mhm.
But Crouching Tiger presents you a world that you have no reason to believe isn't real. So seeing
Mhm.
characters flying and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, it's like it stands out. It's unique for people who don't watch movies like that.
Totally. Yeah, it's so yeah, so nice to see a film like not only a foreign language film, but something that I don't even know if that kind of like lightning in a bottle, like
Mm,
perfect storm mix has hit again for a film like this. I mean, maybe Parasite would be the other example of just something that was so kind of universally
yeah,
like I'd never seen this film before, and like I remember as a kid being like, oh yes, that's a movie, that's a good movie,
yeah,
without
and like
ever having seen this.
kung fu was expanding in the West around this time. The UK pretty much owned Hong Kong since like World War II up to 1997. It was a territory, whatever how you would call it. In 1997, there's the Hong Kong handover, which was the UK giving Hong Kong back to China. And around this time, the Hong Kong film industry starts to die down in like the mid 90s, late 90s. So a lot of stars start coming over. That's when you get Chow Yun Fat from this going over and making Replacement Killers with Mark Wahlberg, and Jackie Chan comes over and does Rush Hour. Michelle Yeoh comes over, does a Bond movie. Yuan Wu Ping is choreographing The Matrix. Other people, like even more people, are coming over into the West. So because you have this political changeover,
Mhm.
which then leads to a bunch of stars leaving Hong Kong, where Hong Kong was like the pinnacle of cinema for a lot of people, not just action, not just kung fu, but you have people like Wong Kar-wai and all these other big directors and filmmakers. All that which leads to all these stars coming over to the US, leads to an explosion of kung fu, The Matrix, which helps kung fu blow up in the West, and then that follows up 1 year later, 1999 into 2000, with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. There's just a lot of elements that came together for it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so excited that you picked this one, and so excited that we can go over it with, I kind of like, I just like hearing you talk on it because 'cause I'm like, "I don't know anything about this." Normally, I'm nattering away to myself about classic cinema, so it's so nice to have you be able to, like, walk through all the cool little elements that had to take place, in order for this film to happen, and the choreography and stuff. Because I could w I could I as much as I wanna research
Mm,
and I did for this film, it's unless you understand, like, the full, like, lens and landscape of, like, this
yeah.
genre in particular, it's harder to talk about because 'cause you're like, "I'm having to talk a film, but it's in a language I don't know, about a choreography I don't understand."
Mm. Well, so and but like even though something can be choreography you don't understand, I think this movie does a perfect job of storytelling within the choreography. Something
Yeah.
I've talked about before with you. And I even watched an interview with Ang Lee where he pretty much just said my movie does not have action scenes. My movie doesn't have fight scenes. Every scene is a drama scene. Just because they're fighting doesn't mean drama is not happening. The story
Yeah.
is being told now. Instead of not talking anymore, they're giving you the story through their actions.
This film is incredibly accessible to, I think, any audience, like, obviously of a certain age, but like any audience.
Mhm.
There, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a person that wouldn't find something in this film that they would connect to. There's
Yeah.
so many different elements of for like different whatever your genre bias or preference is that you would enjoy this movie. Like for myself, the romance bit is there. You've got the action scenes, you've got the kung fu stuff. But even if you're just a fan of like going to watch like a well-made drama or like a something with like beautiful cinematography and costumes, like everything
Mhm.
from this movie is so expertly crafted, um that I just think it's just incredibly watchable.
You know, the moment the fight scene, I guess that maybe this where this movie peaks is not the right word, but you could argue is kind of the climactic fight scene of the movie isn't even like Chow Yun Fat is the supposed hero of the movie. He is this trained fighter who wanted to go into retirement, but when his jade sword, which he was trying to donate to somebody else, but when it gets stolen and put into the wrong hands, he has to get back into the fight. Even though he is the hero of this movie, like Michelle Yeoh gets, in my opinion, all those standout moments. So her fight scene with Zhang Ziyi, where Zhang Ziyi has the Jade Sword, the Green Destiny, and the Green Destiny is meant to be the most powerful sword. It's unbreakable. It's just this super powerful sword that also sort of gives you like status. Anybody who holds it is like, wow, that person's great. So even though Zhang Ziyi is very skilled, very talented, very dangerous, she is overconfident because she wields the Jade Sword, the Green Destiny. And so Michelle Yeoh this is the best fight scene in the movie. And again, the visual storytelling, like you said earlier, you can watch this movie on mute. You can watch this fight scene on mute and understand every single detail about it. Because Zhang Ziyi comes at it overconfident. She has the Green Destiny. Michelle Yeoh is going through weapon after weapon after weapon because they all keep breaking because the Green Destiny is so strong, it's so powerful. So a weapon breaks, Michelle Yeoh gets another weapon. A weapon breaks, Michelle Yeoh gets another weapon. And in the end, even though her final sword breaks, she closes the distance and she puts a broken blade up to Zhang Ziyi's neck. No intention of killing her, just to show her it doesn't matter that you wield that sword. You're a child, you're overconfident, and you
Mhm,
need to give up your, like, whatever your goal is, just give it up. Like,
mhm.
you're going down a wrong path for no reason. And I just showed you that by whipping your ass, even though I don't have the Green Destiny.
I love Michelle Yeoh's so good. In everything. She's got such a strong presence, and then that garbage second half of Wicked, still so good.
I didn't see the second one. I like the first one, didn't see the second one.
The first one is great. The second one, you don't need to see it. That's why people
Yeah,
don't like musicals.
I don't think I will.
The second one, I was like, I like musicals, and this is a bit much. Any final thoughts on the film before we say goodbye?
I think, like you said, it is a perfect gateway movie. I think this is not the reason. One reason this is such a good gateway movie is not just to get somebody interested in kung fu and the action stylings and that kind of thing, but what sort of drove me in the early days of me getting into kung fu and martial arts movies as a teenager is in a movie like this, there's so many really good, really talented people, and it made me say, what else have they done?
Mhm.
Like I don't know if you watch like I don't know if you've never seen a Robert De Niro or Al Pacino movie and you watch Heat,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, wow, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are really good. What else have they done? It's the same thing here. You watch this and you say, wow, Chang Pei Pei as the Jade Fox is really good. Wow, oh, she was like a huge star in the 60s. I'm gonna go back and watch her stuff. Wow, Michelle Yeoh is really good. Zhang Ziyi is really good. Chow Yun Fat is really good. Who was the fight choreographer on? Who are Yuen Wu Ping? What else has he done? Like,
Yeah.
it's there's so many great lanes, great roads to go down. This movie is sitting in the middle of a 7-way intersection, and you have any road you can go down to go on some crazy adventure and discover something great.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for picking this one and for coming on this show. And pleasure to have you on. Please come back anytime.
With any movie, I'll watch whatever. Even if it's
Absolutely.
got no plot, all fight scenes, I'll watch it for you.
No, I'll never do that to you again. I promise.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I need to get out of my bubble. That's important. It's important for personal growth. And can you just remind everybody where to find you again? And I'll make sure to link all that down below, as well as link your podcast and all that good stuff.
Yes, I am the Martial Arts Foam Freak on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook page, Blue Sky, all those things. I've been making YouTube videos for coming up on 10 years, so there is plenty to go back and watch. I've only just started the show that you were on is called I Welcome You to Kung Fu. That is really, right now it's only on YouTube. I'm thinking about putting it on like actual like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. Right now it's only on the YouTube channel. I only started doing that last year, so I think you were like the 9th episode. So there's a handful of
Thank
those
you.
to go back and look at, but there's still 10 years worth of videos to go check out, and I promise you, you're gonna have a good time learning about kung fu, martial arts, cinema, and all those kind of things.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.